You have 24 hours to leave my house. That's the line. Isabel says it standing in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, car keys already in her hand like she's rehearsed the exit. She doesn't blink. I set my coffee cup down slow, careful, the way I'd set down a live wire I wasn't ready to cut yet. Behind her, propped against the counter, sits a manila folder with Kingsford's law firm stamped across the front in gold foil. 24 hours. She says it like a countdown she's already won. I've spent 11 years installing security systems into other people's homes, PIR sensors tucked into corners, door contact sensors hidden in frame gaps, zone panels wired into closets nobody thinks to check. I know how people hide what matters. I know how people forget what they've hidden too. And there's one thing in this house Isabel forgot completely. You're serious, I say. Not a question. I don't do questions when I already know the answer. Kingsford drew up the paperwork this morning. The Haid transferred into my name during the refinance. You signed off on it, remember? I remember signing a stack of forms at 11 at night, exhausted, trusting her because she was my wife. I remember Kingsford hovering at her shoulder the whole time, smiling with too many teeth. I feel it in my chest before I let it show on my face. 24 hours, Quentin. I already talked to a locksmith about the code. There it is, the code. Here's a fact she's forgotten, somewhere between the wedding and whatever this is now. 3 years ago, on our anniversary, she gave me a gift card wrapped inside a joke, a scrap of paper with 6 digits scrawled on it, her handwriting loopy from the wine. In case you ever need to hide something from me, she'd laughed, consider it a dare. I used those 6 digits for the safe I bolted into the crawl space behind the guest room, the one she's walked past 1,000 times without a second glance. She thinks it holds spare cash in my grandfather's watch. She has no idea what's actually inside. Isabel, I keep my voice level, the way I keep a client calm mid-installation when their alarm won't stop screaming. Walk me through this, slowly. There's nothing to walk through. She checks her phone. Kingsford says once the deed transfer clears county records, you're a guest in my house.
Guests can be asked to leave. And if the deed transfer isn't clean? For half a second, just half, her certainty flickers. It's clean. He's handled 100 of these. 100 of these. I file that phrase away, like a technician logging a serial number. Kingsford calls the house phone that evening, which nobody does anymore unless they're performing something. Quentin. His voice oozes courtroom warmth. I understand emotions are running high. They're not. I'm fairly calm, actually. A pause on his end. He wasn't expecting calm. People expect the husband to shout, to threaten, to give them footage for a restraining order. I don't give people footage. I've spent a career making sure cameras catch exactly what they're supposed to catch, and nothing more. Kingsford says the paperwork is airtight. I'd advise you not to make this difficult. I'm not planning to make anything difficult. I glance toward the hallway, toward the guest room, toward the crawl space only I remember exists. I think it's going to be very simple. He laughs, short and dismissively, and hangs up first. Men like Kingsford always hang up first. It's how they convince themselves they won. Isabel finds me in the garage an hour later, packing tools into a duffel bag that isn't for leaving. It's for the job I've got scheduled tomorrow, if there's still a tomorrow that looks anything like today. You're actually packing. Something close to surprise crosses her face. Work bag, I say. Client in Brunswick needs a weekend reader replaced before their store opens. You're worried about a client's keypad right now? I'm worried about a lot of things right now, Isabel. That happens to be one of them. She studies me the way she used to study blueprints when we bought this place, searching for the load-bearing wall, the thing that decides whether everything else stands or collapses. You're not fighting me,
she says. I didn't say that. Pinning this line right here because it's the one that decides which side of the comments section you land on. I didn't say that. Some of you think Quentin is already lost, already resigned to losing the house he's paid into for a decade. Others think a man that quiet, that steady, is the most dangerous person in the room. Drop your vote below. Agree or disagree, because in about 11 minutes of runtime, you're going to find out which of you called it. Midnight comes and goes. Isabel sleeps in the guest room, her choice, not mine, while I sit at the kitchen table with the manila folder finally open in front of me. Kingsford's signature is everywhere. Too many places, actually, for a man who claims he's only handling routine paperwork. I start pulling threads.
County records are public if you know which portal to use. And 11 years of installing security systems means I know how to search a database without leaving fingerprints. What I find at 2 a.m. makes my stomach drop. The refinance Isabel signed didn't just move the deed into her name, it moved it into a shell entity, Marsh Hollow Holdings, LLC, registered 4 months before the refinance, to an address that traces straight back to Kingsford's own firm. Isabel doesn't own this house. Kingsford does, and once he evicts me and Isabel sells through his shell company, she'll walk away with a payout that's a fraction of what the property's worth, while Kingsford flips it for the real number. She thinks she's winning a divorce. She's being robbed in plain daylight. I wake her up gently. No shouting. I've never needed volume to be heard. Isabel, we need to talk before this clock runs out. She sits up, guarded. If this is a plea, it's not a plea. I set my laptop on the bed, the county records glowing on the screen. It's Marsh Hollow Holdings. Her eyes scan the screen. Once, twice. That's not 4 months old, I say. Registered to Kingsford's building. You didn't refinance in your name, Isabel. You refinanced into his. That's not possible. He's my lawyer. He's your lawyer who told you the house was yours right up until the second it legally wasn't. Shaky breath. Watching her certainty crack is not satisfying the way I thought it might be, somewhere in the small, bitter part of me that's been hurting since yesterday morning. It's just sad. Sad the way watching a door contact sensor fail is sad. You can see exactly the moment the whole system stops protecting the thing it was built to protect. Why would he? She stops, answers her own question before I have to. The house. He wants the house. I think he's wanted it since before the ink dried on the refinance. We call Kingsford together, speakerphone. Kitchen table, the sun barely up over the pines outside. Isabel, he says, all silk, did Quentin manage to talk you into some kind of story? Marsh Hollow Holdings, she says flatly. Explain it. Silence. Then too fast. That's a standard title holding vehicle. It's common practice. I can send you the registered to your building 4 months before the refinance. I cut in. Save the explanation for the Bar Association. Now, let's not be hasty. You gave me 24 hours to leave my own house, I say, calm, methodical, the way I've been the whole miserable countdown. You've got about 2 left before Isabel calls a real estate attorney who isn't also stealing from her. The line goes dead. Men like Kingsford always hang up first. This is the part where the 6 digits matter. I lead Isabel to the guest room, pull back the access panel in the crawl space, and spin the dial on the safe she gave me the combination to without ever remembering she had. That's... Her mouth opens. I gave you that number as a joke. You gave it to me anyway. Inside isn't cash. isn't the watch, though that's tucked in a corner. It's the original deed, the one before we ever married, before refinances, before Kingsford, back when I bought this half-acre lot with money I'd saved, installing alarm panels one house at a time through my 20s. My name only, never touched by a refinance, because I never signed the property itself over, only ever the mortgage paperwork Kingsford kept sliding in front of us. "You've had this the whole time," Isabel whispers. "I've had it since before I had you," I say, and I don't say it cruel, I say it true. Kingsford built you a house of cards on a foundation that was never his to build on. By the time the county opens that morning, Isabel isn't fighting to keep the house anymore. She's fighting to make sure Kingsford never touches another client's paperwork again. Affidavits, a formal complaint, her own name first on the filing. "I have to go," she tells me on the porch, duffel bag over her shoulder, and this time the 24 hours belong to her. "I know," I say. "The safe combination, I really did forget I gave you that." "I never did," I say. She leaves before noon, not evicted, not defeated, just done, walking toward whatever comes next with her eyes open for the first time in months. I stand in the doorway of a house that's legally, finally, uncomplicatedly mine, and I go back inside to finish the coffee I never got to drink yesterday. Some men spend their whole lives keeping other people's houses safe. Turns out, I only ever needed to keep my own. There's another one of these waiting for you, a different house, a different countdown, a different person who thought they already knew how the story ended. Find it next.